Emotionally intelligent people often come across as cold, distant, unfeeling. But that's a misreading. Psychology shows something else is happening. Their brains are processing more. They're seeing patterns others miss. And sometimes, that depth looks like indifference from the outside. 1. They don't react to drama. You tell an emotionally intelligent person about your crisis. They listen. They understand. But they don't panic with you. No wide eyes. No urgent energy. Just steady presence. Most people interpret this as not caring, but psychologists call this emotional regulation. Their nervous system stays calm because they're not hijacked by your fear. They can think clearly. They can actually help. The unintelligent response is to match your panic. The intelligent response is to stay grounded, so one of you has clarity. That looks cold. It's not. 2. They don't validate every feeling. You're upset about something. An emotionally intelligent person doesn't automatically agree that you're right and the world is wrong. They ask questions instead. What role did you play here? What's the story you're telling yourself? This isn't cruelty. It's psychological honesty. Most people want sympathy. Emotionally intelligent people offer reality. They refuse to lie to make you feel better temporarily. They'd rather tell you the truth so you can actually grow. That feels cold because we're trained to expect agreement, not accountability. They give accountability. 3. They withdraw from emotional intensity. Some people feed off chaos. They thrive on drama, crisis, and constant emotional turbulence. Emotionally intelligent people don't. When they sense manipulation, neediness, or emotional exhaustion, they step back, not out of cruelty, out of self-preservation. Psychology shows that emotional intelligence includes recognizing when a relationship is draining your resources. They don't stick around to absorb someone else's instability forever. Smart people protect their energy. To the unstable person, this withdrawal feels like rejection. To the emotionally intelligent person, it's necessary boundary setting. They look cold because they leave. They're actually being wise. 4. They don't perform emotions they don't feel. You know those people who cry at every sad movie, laugh extra loud, get visibly angry to show they care. Emotionally intelligent people often don't. They feel deeply, but they don't broadcast it. Psychology calls this emotional authenticity. They refuse to fake feelings for social approval. If they're not crying, it doesn't mean they don't feel sad. They're just not performing sadness for an audience. This reads as cold. It's actually integrity. They won't pretend to be devastated if they're not. They won't laugh at a joke that isn't funny just to please you. They're honest about their internal state. Most people find this unsettling because we expect emotional performance. Authenticity without performance looks like coldness. 5. They ask uncomfortable questions. You make a decision, and they ask why. You blame someone for hurting you, and they ask, what did you expect? You complain about your life, and they ask, what are you actually doing to change it? Emotionally intelligent people don't let comfortable lies survive. They probe. They challenge. They refuse to validate. Psychology shows that real compassion sometimes means holding someone accountable instead of enabling them, but accountability stings. So emotionally intelligent people seem harsh. They're not. They're loving you enough to tell you the hard truth instead of the easy lie. 6. They're comfortable with people leaving. Most people chase. They text twice. They apologize for things they didn't do. They twist themselves into shapes to keep relationships alive. Emotionally intelligent people don't chase. If you leave, they let you. If you're unhappy, they don't beg you to stay. Psychology shows that people with high emotional intelligence have strong internal validation. They don't need you to prove they're worthy. So when someone exits their life, they grieve and move on instead of panic. This detachment looks cold to people who've been trained to abandon themselves to keep others close. But emotionally intelligent people understand something deeper. You can't force someone to value you. Trying to is just self-abandonment disguised as love. They won't do it. So they seem cold, when really, they're respecting both of you. 7. They don't overshare. You meet an emotionally intelligent person, and they listen to you for hours, but you know very little about them. They don't dump their problems on you. They don't seek constant reassurance. They don't need you to validate their struggles. Psychology calls this emotional self-sufficiency. They process their own pain internally. They have boundaries around vulnerability. Most people mistake this for coldness, but it's actually a sign of maturity. They're not using you as an emotional dumpster. They're not burdening you with their internal chaos. They're taking responsibility for their own healing. That reads as distant. It's actually considerate. 8. They see through manipulation. Emotionally intelligent people recognize games fast. Guilt trips, victim narratives. The subtle ways people use emotion to control others. When they identify it, they name it directly. You're trying to make me feel responsible for your choices. That's not actually what happened, and you know it. This bluntness stings, so people call them cold. But psychology shows that emotionally intelligent people refuse to participate in emotional games. They won't pretend the manipulation isn't happening. They won't play along. That clarity looks like coldness to people who are used to getting away with it. 9. They're skeptical of emotional reactivity. Someone tells them a story, and they don't immediately take sides. They ask for context. They consider multiple perspectives. They resist the urge to join a mob mentality. Psychology calls this cognitive flexibility. They're not jumping to conclusions based on emotion. They're actually thinking. But in a world where people want instant emotional alliance, thinking looks like coldness. It looks like you don't care. You're actually just not letting emotion override your judgment. 10. They accept harsh realities without denial. Life is unfair. People are selfish. Relationships end. Most people use emotional denial to survive these truths. Emotionally intelligent people don't. They accept reality as it is, not as they wish it to be. Psychology shows this acceptance is actually a sign of emotional maturity. They're not bitter about it. They're just clear-eyed. But that clarity looks bleak to people still in denial. They seem pessimistic or cold, when really they're just not lying to themselves. They're not softening hard truths with false hope. They're seeing what's there. 11. They don't need to be needed. Most people confuse love with dependency. They prove they care by being indispensable. They create problems so others need them. Emotionally intelligent people don't. They love freely without needing reciprocation to validate it. Psychology shows this is the healthiest form of love, but it terrifies people who've built their self-worth on being needed. An emotionally intelligent person who doesn't desperately need you to need them back looks cold and unavailable. They're not. They're secure. They're stable. They're offering love without strings. That's not cold. That's rare. 12. They process emotions privately. You cry in front of everyone. You scream. You rage publicly. Emotionally intelligent people feel just as deeply, but they process internally. They don't use you as an audience for their emotional journey. Psychology shows that this privacy isn't suppression. It's discipline. But discipline looks like coldness to people who've never developed it. You can't see the internal work. You can only see the external calm. So you assume they're not feeling. They're feeling, they're just not performing. The truth is, emotionally intelligent people aren't cold. They're operating on a different level. Their brains are wired to feel deeply but think clearly, to care without controlling, to love without clinging, to process pain without broadcasting it, to set boundaries without guilt. Psychology is clear. This looks like coldness because we've been trained to equate emotion with intensity, loudness, visibility, neediness. But real emotional intelligence is quiet. It's stable. It's secure. It's clear-eyed about human nature. And most people find that unsettling, so they call it cold. They're mistaking depth for distance, clarity for cruelty, boundaries for rejection. But emotionally intelligent people know the difference. And they're not going to pretend to be less aware just to make you comfortable. If this resonated, if you felt seen in any of these patterns, then you already know something most people don't. Emotional intelligence is lonely sometimes, but it's worth it. And if you want to understand the psychological patterns most people miss, the raw truths about human behavior, then subscribe to this channel. Every week I break down the psychology everyone needs to hear, but nobody's saying,